Hi students. Today we will be talking about equipment that we will use during our sewing time. We're going to talk about cutting devices, pins, needles, soft measuring tape, and fabric. First, cutting devices. We've got a lot of different shapes and colors of cutting devices. The things that are for fabric say fabric on them. The things that are for paper say paper on them, or they look like little elementary student scissors. Please do not use the fabric shears on paper. It dulls them, and then we can't cut fabric. If you want to try to use paper scissors on fabric, go ahead, but it probably won't work because they're too dull to get the job done. Next, pins and needles. Pins have this little round thing on them and then a point on the other end. They are used to keep fabric together. For example, if I had this fabric and I want to fold it in half and keep it folded in half, I would put a pin in it, and the pin keeps the fabric from coming apart. A needle, on the other hand, has what's called the eye of a needle, and it's a hole up at the top where thread goes in, and then at the bottom is the point where you would sew through your fabric. Pins and needles are allowed to be in 3 locations. 1, your hands. 2, your project. And 3, their put-away spot. Pins go onto the magnets or into the soft pin cushions. Note on the soft pin cushions, the pins stab through them. Be aware of that and don't hurt yourself. Needles get lost in the pin cushions and magnets, so they go on a needle card, making sure that you see the eye of the needle and the tip of the needle on the needle card. Next, soft measuring tapes. These are soft so that you can measure around round things such as your head or your arm or your waist. They are easily cut. Please do not use these near the cutting devices. Last, fabric. The fabric that we use is generally upcycled, and if you have fabric at home that you want to bring in, feel free to do so. It's great to have new fabric. When you go to cut fabric, you want to make sure that you cut on a nice flat surface, such as a tabletop. You want to cut in long, continuous strokes, not in little tiny choppy strokes. Choppy strokes tend to not be as straight. Next, you want to cut on the surface and not in the air, off the edge, or on your lap. If you do that, you're more likely to mess up your cutting. The last thing about cutting is you don't want things to be layered on top of each other, one type of fabric here and one type of fabric here, unless you intend to cut both fabrics. If you only want to cut the top fabric and it's laying on top of the bottom fabric, you're likely to cut the bottom fabric as well. That goes for paper and other things that might be on your tabletop too. So make sure when you cut, wide open, clean space, scissors on the table, nothing else underneath your fabric. So that's a little bit about cutting devices, pins and needles, measuring tapes, fabric, and the cutting of your fabric. Have fun sewing.